Hello. Let's get this hooked up on my iPad. Let's get this hooked up on my iPad. Okay, we have that set. One is the loneliest number. Apparently my iPad is watching. Let's just wait for some people to get in. Sometimes it can take like 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes. And we'll be talking about the Nancy Guthrie case if you happen to be watching this on the playback. If you are, you can, fast forward to the first couple minutes till we can get the audience to come in. I should have texted my mod. She doesn't always read her text, so let's see. What's everybody doing today on Saturday? On Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I don't know who's around right now. Let's just wait. Is everybody out for Valentine's Day? I already went out today. Wow, we're 2 minutes into this. Maybe Sunday would be the better day to do this. I'll have a sip of my little cappuccino here. Yeah, Mama Bear, that's me. Hello, whoever's here, please type your name in the chat. Thank you for the thumbs up. We're just waiting for people to come in so we can get this going. This is going to be an update on the Nancy Guthrie situation. We actually have two main things that we need to talk about today, but I'm going to let some people come in first. Or we'll just scrap it and come back later on. The people might be going out for their Valentine's Day date, for their dinners. Wow, 2 of us. Let's give it a few more minutes. Hey, there's another thumbs up. Somebody has come in and gone. Let's get this thing going. Come on. If you're watching on the playback, I've always said skip through the first 4 to 5 minutes, until we can get into it directly. I don't want to talk to the air and to my ceiling. I even had to make some notes on this one. This is quite important, this update. I was listening to some of the information about this in the car. I was pretty mind blown. There's something that came out today that has come out since last night and all that. But I gotta get people in, or we'll just have to do this at a later time. Sunday worked out well last week. I had like over 3,000 people coming in. Not all at once, but throughout the video. Wow, maybe Saturday afternoon on a Valentine's Day is just not the time to do this. We'll give it a few more minutes. If not, I'm just going to close this out and I'll have to come back like tonight or tomorrow. Okay, who is the lone person in here besides myself? Let's get some people in here. Gosh, is YouTube broken today? Or is everybody out for Valentine's Day? Hi, Pappy Harness. How you doing? Thanks for coming in. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. Wow, 3 whole people. I think one of those people is my iPad. So we'll count that number 3 as a 2. Oh my gosh. I have so much to talk about. So much has happened since last night on this Nancy Guthrie case. I mean, I don't even know what to think at this point. Let's give it just a few more minutes. Maybe we could get some red hearts. Maybe YouTube will push this out into the algorithm. I'll take a sip of my cappuccino here. Yeah, I don't want to just talk to the air. I had a couple people that came in and went out in seconds because I'm just sitting here like waiting. It can take a few minutes now to grab the audience to come in. So you guys type something in the chat. Tell me where you're coming in from. And then we'll get this going. Well, I think we're going to get it going. I don't want to talk to the air for 10 minutes and then say, well, now we're going to talk about this. Once again, if you're watching on the playback, you better fast forward to the beginning of this video. Wow. There's like nobody here. We may just have to go off the air and we'll come back like, tonight or tomorrow, because today is Valentine's Day. So people are busy. Thank you. Hi, Jose. Where are you coming in from, Jose? Where are you coming in from, Pappy Harness? Where's everybody coming in from? Georgia. Ontario, Canada. Hey, my dad was naturalized Canadian. Hello, Canada. That's interesting. It's weird. The number on the top of my screen just says 1, but you guys are typing into the chat. What's going on with YouTube? The numbers are just not rising. It's showing like 1 at a time. The Dave Appel. I was just sliding through. You're in BC, Canada. Oh, my bestie who passed was from BC, Canada, from Vancouver. Wow. Welcome, Canada. I'm impressed with that. I wanted to give an update on this Nancy Guthrie situation. And the main purpose of the video is I was going to talk about the SWAT operation that happened last night in Tucson. If I only had one wish, what would it be, my sister? To fully recover medically from everything that's happened. And Dave says you're 4 hours away from Canada. Wow. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about this. There's something else that's a little bit more important right now than my intention for this video was to talk about the SWAT team operation because I know a lot about that and I will talk about it in a few minutes. But I just heard this. I heard this video where Harvey Levin from TMZ was interviewed, and I follow everything that happens with TMZ. I'm a little bit disturbed by what I just heard. Apparently, they think the person that wrote the first ransom letter also wrote the subsequent ransom letters about the 1 Bitcoin and the fractional Bitcoin. Do I believe it's a cartel? Well, I'm not sure now. So let me just, assuming that what we're hearing from TMZ is true, assuming, it seems that there's a connection between the first letter, the second letter, and the third letter to TMZ, the emails, because they all are asking for the Bitcoin to go into the same Bitcoin account. The original 4 million, then it was 6 million, or there would be consequences. Then, hey, I want 1 Bitcoin to give you information on the kidnappers or kidnapper. And then on the third note that we talked about before, when they asked for the fractional Bitcoin, this was in order to get information exchanged about the main individual, assuming, or just, I'm thinking that means there's more than one, if this note is even legit, because I think a lot of these notes could be red herrings or they could be fakes. They could just be, somebody sitting in Nigeria trying to get some free Bitcoin. And they said there would be consequences. But this third note that came in, I think it was yesterday before noon, Los Angeles time, the guy says he doesn't want to deal with the FBI, and that's why he wants the fractional Bitcoin. He wants 50,000 now. Then if he won't spend it, he won't cash it out. Then if the person is arrested, he wants the next fractional payment because he wants the same amount that the FBI is offering, but he doesn't want to go to the FBI because he says, I don't trust them. They don't trust me. And he said something about his safety. He would be gambling with his safety and compromising possibly his freedom if he talked to the FBI directly. And there's something apparently that's in the first ransom letter that TMZ is not revealing because they promised the FBI that they wouldn't. Do I like the Donald? Not really, not at all. However, apparently there's something that's in that third ransom that Harvey didn't talk about yesterday, but he's talking about it now. And the writer of that third ransom said, and this kind of sent chills down my spine, be prepared to go international. In other words, if you give me the fractional and I give up the main person involved who has all the information about this kidnapping, be prepared to go international. Now think about that. Tucson, where this, abduction, kidnapping, murder, robbery gone wrong, whatever it is, Tucson is only 71 miles away from the Mexican border. Now, we talked about this right away. Let's see. Sanctuary, we're not going to go into politics here. Hi, Flyer Bill. Happy Valentine's Day. Be prepared to go international. Now, we don't know who wrote these ransom notes. They came in via email, and they haven't been able to trace those emails from someone or maybe more than someone, but all 3 notes have the same Bitcoin account that they want the ransom money or the tip money deposited into. That just opens up a whole new can of worms on this as far as I'm concerned, because I'm one of those people, as there are many in law enforcement, who don't believe that this is a typical kidnapping. Kidnappings don't typically work like this, and ransoms are demanded immediately, not 2 to 3 days later. I mean, this just seems like a dog and pony show to distract from what's really going on. Be prepared to go international. Sanctuary. Oh, come on. We're going to have to put this user in some timeout. So have a nice day, Sanctuary. Yeah, we don't, you have to not be a knucklehead in here or you're not going to be allowed to come in. Just, everybody here is cool, but there's always one knucklehead in the crowd, and he or she has now been put on a long time out. What do you guys think about this? That are all the ransoms written by the same person? Is the ransom note that was received by TMZ the original one that the FBI is still taking extremely seriously? Is that the same ransom demand that went to the local TV stations in Tucson? Yeah, I know. You're welcome, Bill. That's very important that the FBI is still taking that first ransom seriously, because apparently there's information in that first ransom that only someone that was in the house at the time of the incident would know about. And it might pertain to the Apple Watch being left behind in the charger on the nightstand next to the bed in Nancy's bedroom. It's something about that. There's something that they know that makes the FBI believe that it could be legit. I thought from the very beginning it's a red herring. Something else was supposed to happen that night and it went bad and somebody died, and now after the fact they're like, hey, why don't we make this look like a kidnapping? Don't know. There's a lot of people, especially with a case like this that has this much media attention because it's the mother of Savannah Guthrie. There's all kinds of, cockroaches, so to speak, coming out of the woodwork on this. Now, I'll just let you guys think about that. Let that set in for a while. Be prepared to go international. I think that would be Mexico. That's obviously they didn't put her on an airplane and take her to Europe or, someplace like that. If it's Mexico, you could drive to Mexico. But then you could also, once you drive into Mexico, you could keep going and you could end up even further south in, North America, Central America. Heck, if you wanted to, I think you could drive to South America from Mexico. I wouldn't recommend that. I think it would be very dangerous, but, these are bad guys, who knows? We just don't know. There's so much we don't know. But let's talk a little bit about what happened last night. There was a huge SWAT team operation, and all these people from the media and all the YouTubers that are the boots on the ground, they all went to this town called Marana, Arizona, where supposedly the SWAT team from Pima County, they were setting up at a shopping center, and then they went into this neighborhood, this really very nice neighborhood, and it was very similar to Nancy's as far as the darkness. It had more modern homes. It looked really nice, and there was a really nice like desert mountain behind the neighborhood. There was a rainstorm there, or thunderstorm. I wouldn't say thunderstorm, but there was definitely a rain shower that kind of shocked me for this time of year. And one of the residents said that they have the same prohibitive lights in their neighborhood as they do in Nancy's neighborhood. It was in a suburb of northwest Tucson, but it was actually in a town of Marana, which is very close to Tucson. And they had no lights either because of the wildlife rules, which I think is kind of cool that a city like Tucson does something like that. That they don't, when you have neighborhoods that are sitting in the middle of the desert, they don't allow the nighttime lighting in the residential neighborhood so that the wildlife can migrate. But it looked like a nice place, but nothing was happening there. And then, the YouTubers that are on the ground, the boots on the ground, plus Fox News and everybody else, they were all running out there, and they all sat out there for 2 or 3 hours. But then they got a tip that where things were really going down was an address. I'm not going to give you the street number, but a street name of Camino de Michael in Tucson. And that's in the Shadow Hills neighborhood, which is either right next to Catalina Hills or part of Catalina Hills where Nancy Guthrie lived. And I say lived past tense because I don't think she's still with us. But it's 2 miles or less from Nancy's house to go to this property that I'm not going to disclose the address in Shadow Hills. And that house is actually owned by a very well-known attorney in his 60s who is a prominent, attorney in Tucson that works for the county, works for Pima County. He didn't actually or doesn't actually live in that house now. He may not have lived there for more than a year. Allegedly, his family doesn't live in that house either, but someone in his family lives in Marana. Maybe that was the Marana connection, that he or his family member lived in Marana. He does own the house, according to all the online records, but that house had been converted to what's called a VRBO. It's a VRBO. It's kind of like an Airbnb, but rather than renting out a room or a guest house or, just temporarily renting a portion of the house, you can rent the whole house like a vacation home. And a lot of these houses are like, on beaches in tropical areas, but you could just rent out the whole house on VRBO. And apparently that house has had renters in there for more than a year. And the neighbors complained that that house now doesn't have any exterior lighting. And it's kind of like, how every neighborhood, even when you were a kid, there was always one house in the neighborhood that was the spooky house. People were describing it like that. Like there's something sus going on at that house. There's no lights. Nobody seems to know who lives there. There's a lot of, weirdos coming and going from that address. And everybody's kind of scared of that house, even though it's owned by a prominent figure in Tucson. That house has like become a creep house or a spook house. And that is where the SWAT team showed up last night while the feds were serving a search warrant. And it was not a county search warrant. It was a federal, my bunny, it was a federal search warrant. This search warrant, and can anybody still hear me? Let me know, because I don't see a lot of people in here. Let me know in the chat if you can still hear me. Hit me some red hearts, hit me some thumbs up. Let me know if anybody can hear. We've got 7 people. Can anybody hear me? Because I need to talk about, audio is good. Okay. So they served a federal search warrant at this house, and apparently a man and a woman described as a mother and a son literally walked out of that house and were fully cooperative. They were detained by the feds, and the house was searched. We don't know for what or why. Okay, we don't know their names. However, this family, there's another person that lives in that house, and apparently there are multiple tenants of that house. There was another man that was detained in a traffic stop. He was pulled over, and here we go, driving a white van. Remember, the neighbors in Nancy's neighborhood said that a white van was in the neighborhood in the days leading up to her disappearance. But also remember, Carlos Palazuelos down in Rio Rico also has a white van. So at the same moment, they must have been surveilling this white van, because they pulled that person over and detained that driver at the exact same moment that they swarmed his house and served the federal search warrant and had the SWAT team there for backup. But the people there cooperated. They didn't hide. They walked right out. I don't think they had to, break the door down or anything like that. Now, supposedly the guy in the white van was the brother of the guy that came out of the house in Shadow Hills with his mother. So all 3 of them were detained. Now, there was a rumor going around at the same moment that there was also a passenger in that white van, and that passenger had pulled out a handgun and unalived himself. I don't know if that's true. I have no evidence that that's true, but they're saying that another YouTuber, because there's several of them out there that have actually arrived in Tucson to cover this case and be the boots on the ground. A popular YouTuber claims that he actually filmed the person lying on the ground, but then removed the video, and he went off the air last night suddenly. Also, some of the other YouTube channels were like, hey, we saw a medical examiner's van drive into that neighborhood and later drive out. There's no evidence whatsoever that proves that a passenger in the white van being driven by one of the individuals detained last night, that somebody died. There was definitely nobody shot by the cops, but supposedly there was a guy on the ground with a head wound who was deceased. I have a hard time believing that. It's possible. Anything is possible, but I have a very hard time believing that. I think that would have come out into the news by now. Now, here's what's crazy is that those 3 people that were detained last night, They were never arrested, just like the Carlos Palazuelos guy. They were never arrested, and they've already been released. They were just detained for a few hours, just like this Carlos guy down in Rio Rico who was with his wife and his kids delivering DoorDash. And when asked if that guy is still a suspect, apparently either Pima County Sheriff's or the FBI responded that we haven't ruled anybody out as a suspect. Nobody's been deleted on the suspect list. So you've got the locals. Well, you've got law enforcement focusing on people in the area close to her house that may have either been delivering in her neighborhood or people that live close to her neighborhood. But yet now you have this information that's come out in the Ransom in the third email sent to Harvey Levin at TMZ that was sent to their tip box, I believe. Be prepared to go international. So now I don't know what to think, you know. And then they were saying that one of the guys that was in the Verbo house on Camino del Michael, that it was the guy with the initials DE, and we all know who that is, Mr. Dominic Evans. But you know, these are all rumors. There was like one of the YouTubers, he had like 80,000 people in the chat when this was going on, and I'm like, oh, good God. And like every couple of minutes, there was people in there sending the super chats and the super stickers, and some of them were like, $50 a hit, and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't see a dime from my channel. I'm not even monetized right now, so there is no super chat or super stickers, but it was just like, good God. I was trying to read those comments, and I was actually getting dizzy and I have vertigo that's like really bad, that's caused by one of my medications. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to try to, and I was trying to put the pause on the phone and trying to see what they were saying. Because at the same time, where they pulled over this van, which was somewhere, the van was supposedly coming home to that house. It was down at the bottom of the hill near like a main street where there's a restaurant called Culver's. And I looked that up. It's like a fast food restaurant, I think, because it looked like they had a drive-through, but there's like a chain of those. I don't know if they're a franchise or they're family owned, but it looks like they have like burgers, and they're known for Atlantic cod and pot roast and chicken, and it seemed like they have a pretty big menu. I don't know how expensive they are, but this apparently went down near Culver's. And then something else happened at the Culver's very close to this area. Let me just go to Husafel. I saw a video of a man with 2 backpacks near trash cans on the same night. Yes, I think it was a different house, same neighborhood. Yeah, that was, go to my video from like a day or two ago, and I have all the information about that guy. In fact, I've got a picture of him in my thumbnail. He looks like a different guy. But yeah, he had 2 backpacks, and one looked similar to the backpack of the guy that was wearing the ski mask at Nancy Guthrie's house. And I think that was 5 miles away. And then there's another house that's about, was it 6 miles away? Where there was, the guy number 3 that was on somebody's porch who was on vacation, and a Ring doorbell picked up that 8 days before all this went down. So there's like 5 or 6 people we went over in those prior videos. Hello to you. Happy Valentine's Day, Hasafel. But I just wanted to talk about that SWAT operation last night after all that went down between Morona, Arizona, and this subdivision of Shadow Hills, which is in Tucson, and it's either right next door to Catalina Hills or it's part of Catalina Hills. It's 2 miles or less from Nancy's, from her house. This all went down last night. And then, while those 2 people were detained, another family member from that family was detained in a white van down the street coming home. It all happened at the same time. But then the feds ended up in this parking lot of this Culver's restaurant, where they were very interested in a dark gray Range Rover, and there was something in the trunk. I just saw like a quick view of it. It looked like a bunch of equipment or bags, or there was something in that car there was looked like the window shades were up in the front windshield, and then there was a lot of stuff in the back. And when they opened up the door, the sheriff's deputies, they got out this big yellow tarp or sheet and they were holding it. They had several deputies holding it on both sides. They didn't want the media or the public to be able to see what they were looking at in the back of that Range Rover SUV. We don't know how it's connected to this. We know that the people whose house was raided in Shadow Hills on North Camino del Michael, that is related to the Nancy Guthrie investigation, as is the man that was pulled over simultaneously in the white van, and then maybe not, a passenger may have unalived himself. I have no proof of that. As that was happening, then they were interested in this SUV that was a Range Rover, dark gray. Something was in the back. They're holding the yellow tarps. You can't see what's inside, but nobody was wearing like a mask or anything. But something was in the back of that car, and that car, eventually, they came out with a flatbed tow truck, and they took it away, just as they have taken Annie Guthrie's car away. They've taken Nancy Guthrie's car away, and now this dark gray Range Rover SUV that was parked at the Culvers, very close to where this SWAT team operation was going down last night on North Camino de Michael in the Shadow Hills neighborhood, near or part of Catalina Hills, 2 miles or less from Nancy's house. This was all in the same general area. And at the same time, an operation was going on in Marona, which is northwest. It's a neighborhood, a subdivision, in a subdivision northwest of Tucson in Marona. But I think a family member that owned or lived in the Shadow Hills house lives in Marana now, because we've definitely confirmed that house, I know who owns it. It's an attorney that works for Pima County. He has that house as a verbo, and apparently hasn't lived there for at least over a year. But it's the neighborhood creep house where they say there's no lighting at night on that property. Of course, there's no lighting in the neighborhood due to the wildlife rules, but it's kind of like the problem house for the neighbors. Like, ooh, what's going on down there? Like, why is it so creepy? Like every neighborhood, even when you're a kid, like everybody that grew up in the United States, there's even if they're in a really nice neighborhood, middle class neighborhood, there's always one house that's the creeper, and there's like a creepy family. Well, that's apparently the house on Camino de Michael. There's something sus about that house. Now, are they involved? We don't know. Nobody's been eliminated. Not even the poor DoorDash driver that was pulled over in Rio Rico in a Nissan Rogue with his wife and his kids, and they took all their phones, handcuffed him on the side of the road, but never interviewed him. Not even that guy has been eliminated. Not the family, not friends. Nobody in this case has been eliminated. And then today, Harvey Levin of TMZ drops a bomb that in the third email regarding the fractional Bitcoin, that whoever wrote it, the writer of that note, which is note number 3, says, prepare to go international. Let's see. Lisa Carpenter, hi. Hello, where are you coming in from, Lisa? I think I've seen you here before, but I have so many new viewers now. Now, I think this video is not doing very well today because it's Valentine's Day. But, people are probably out getting ready for their dates right now. Oh, you're in Missouri. What's the weather like in Missouri? It is hot today in LA, but we're getting ready to have a bunch of storms next week, which is kind of cool. Anyway, so I made this video, or I went on the air to talk about the SWAT operation last night, because I was shocked when I woke up this morning that they said, yeah, none of those people that were detained were arrested, and they've all been undetained. They've been let go. How are they? But they said that those people were definitely detained regarding the Nancy Guthrie case. It wasn't like some other unrelated crime that they were detained for. Yeah, I was so disappointed, Lisa, because I thought, wow, maybe on, Friday the 13th, they're gonna get some people arrested, and within a day, maybe they're gonna find her, even if it's the worst possible scenario and she's found, deceased. At least they'll have something. But here we are, Saturday, Valentine's Day, and we are now 14 days into this crime, and there's absolutely nada. Absolutely nada. Now, I do believe that Pima County, I think the Sheriff Chris Nanos, he's overwhelmed with this. Apparently, a few days into it, he was seen at a basketball game. Somebody said that on my live in the chat, and I thought they were kidding. But I've since read it online that, yeah, he was at a basketball game. Like, what? This is the biggest case in your career that's ever happened in Tucson, Arizona, and the whole world is watching, especially the United States, and you're at a friggin' basketball game? Thank God he brought in the FBI. Thank God. At least they have more experience in kidnappings. But, in today's modern day, kidnappings are still extraordinarily rare, and they follow certain patterns. And this one is not following the pattern. But, once we saw the images of the guy with the ski mask, because they finally were able to lift the video from the Nest doorbell that didn't have a monthly subscription or a yearly subscription, they were finally able to see that. And that was so creepy that people were like, oh my God, maybe it really was a kidnapping. But, and then people started thinking about it's a single person. But just because you see one guy at the door doesn't mean that it was a single person. And it still doesn't mean that somebody close to them is not involved who didn't hire, a close friend, an associate, or just some scummy bad guy to go do something that looked like a kidnapping that really wasn't. Because there's no body. Where is she? There's no proof of life. If it's a kidnapping, there's very specific demands that come across right away. You have to have proof of life in order for the exchange of the ransom, and none of that has happened yet. So I'm still sus of all of these notes. But for some reason, the FBI has reason to believe that the first one is valid. Do you think the son-in-law might have something to do with it? Maybe hired someone? Anything is possible, Lisa. Anything is possible, especially since last night they were saying one of these yahoos that got picked up over on North Camino de Michael, that one of them was DE, meaning Dominic Evans. But there's no proof of that. There was hundreds of thousands of people online last night typing in all these chats on all these YouTube channels, all these news channels and private YouTubers, and, all kinds of misinformation. All we know is that 3 people were detained. 3 people have not been arrested and since released. It was a mother and a son, allegedly. And then the guy in the white van was supposedly the brother of the guy and the other son of the lady that just very willingly walked out of the house. I don't think they broke the door down or had to get the battering ram. But, I mean, they had like at least 30 police vehicles there, from what I've been told, and the SWAT team. And then somebody claimed they saw a medical examiner that had to do with the white van being pulled over simultaneously. And was there a passenger in that van that unalived himself? There's absolutely no proof of any of that. Then we had a yellow tarp being hung down in the Culver's parking lot, a local restaurant chain in Tucson, where there was something in the back of a Range Rover, but we don't know what it was. Let's see. Lisa says exactly, unless they're not saying anything. Yeah, Lisa, I think they're not saying anything. They're not going to reveal their hand. But it seems to be going in so many different directions at the same time. Everybody thought the night that Carlos Palazuelos was pulled over, like, oh, we got something. And then it turned out to be nothing. And he said, they didn't even interview me. They just had him detained in cuffs on the side of the road, and they told him it was for a kidnapping. And he was like, what? Like who? What are you talking about? And then, the feds were busting down the door of his mother-in-law's house while somebody else was in that house. They're playing video games where him and his wife and his kids, they're stuck on the side of the road. And Carlos is in handcuffs going, bro, like what's going on? What happened? And he was a delivery driver. He drives for DoorDash. He delivers packages in Tucson. It's very possible that one of his vehicles, including a white van, may have been seen on Nancy Street. And he didn't even know if he's ever been to her house before. You know how many deliveries those guys they do in a day? He doesn't have, he just got evicted from his place. He's living with his mother-in-law and driving an hour in every day to Tucson and an hour back. And then, he gets nabbed. Like, what was it, on Friday night? What night was that happened? I don't think it was Friday night, because that would have been last night. It was a couple nights ago, and that's just blown over now, like that never happened. And everything that happened last night, they were like, oh, this is finally it. We finally got something. And, somebody's going to get arrested, and, someone's going to go into that jail, and they're going to be told by the cops, like, hey, listen, if you tell us who else is involved in this, maybe we can get you a lesser sentence. And, you could get the death penalty for this, dude. Let's talk. But that never happened. They were detained, never arrested, and have since been released. And that house is no longer a scene of interest. I mean, oh my God. Hello from Iran. Wow. Amazing. Nanina. Am I pronouncing that right? Wow, I didn't even know that. Wow. Iran. I don't think I've ever had that before. Welcome. Anybody is welcome here from all over the world. Everybody is welcome, unless somebody's going to come in here, like we had one guy earlier, we had to take out the trash, as Flyer Bill said. We had a knucklehead that came in. And so basically that's the news. The SWAT team operation turned out to be not fruitful. And the fractional Bitcoin letter apparently is now saying, prepare to go international. And then that just suggests all kinds of things. Because me being a PI in Hollywood and dealing with celebrities, and even though I haven't worked very many kidnappings, I've worked some, but not since the 90s, I say, oh my God, even though she's not famous, she's related to Savannah Guthrie, and Savannah Guthrie's had her on the Today Show. Like, that could have made her a target. Then we have the family where, everybody's like, oh, they're hard up for money and they bought this house they can't afford, and there's gambling debts and there's drugs, and none of that could be true. We're not here to hang anybody. There's so many possibilities. And usually with a kidnapping, an abduction, or a murder, there's a 90% some chance that it's connected to somebody you know closely, and you always look at the family first. Prayers they find Nancy. Oh, thank you, Nanina. I hope you're subscribed. I hope everybody here watching is subscribed. Hit the thumbs up. Make sure you click that bell icon, and then you'll be notified anytime I post a new video or I go live. I'm doing good, Jasmine. I was handling medical stuff again today. That's been my life for the last 7 or 8 years. Although I had to stop at the market today to pick up salad for my beautiful bunny. If you want to see her, just go to my animals playlist. And while I went to get her salad, I found these chocolate covered strawberries. I already ate one. And yesterday, my friend and I, we went to Gelson's and Trader Joe's, and they both had, the Gelson's had the chocolate covered strawberries, and the Trader Joe's had the chocolate whipped cream. And I'm like, I've never heard of chocolate whipped cream. And the guy, putting it on the strawberries was like, I never heard of it either until today. And I have to say it was quite yummy. I don't think I would buy a can of chocolate whipped cream. But then I, went back to the Gelson's after I went to the x-ray place. And no, I didn't get my x-ray today. I have to wait until Monday. And couldn't find her salad because it's a mini Gelson's. Drove to the main supermarket, and I walked in. There was 3 of these for $7.99. Do you think I got a good deal? These are absolutely terrific. I mean, this is like drugs. We shouldn't say that word on here, but oh my God. This is chocolate covered strawberries, and then they have some sort of like a white swirl or highlight on them. You had one today too, Lisa. Yeah, isn't it nice, Bill? Usually when you go into these local LA stores on Valentine's Day, they'll be selling stuff like that for like $20, $30. Or they'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, we already sold out, or we sold out of all the small packs. Somebody, not a romantic interest, but while we were in one of the stores yesterday, my friend picked up these for me. Aren't they beautiful? Yeah. And I have to be careful because the one that she wanted to buy, it didn't ring up right at the cash register, so she had to go grab another one. And this one's got like a lily or an orchid. Is that a lily or an orchid? Does anybody know? But whatever it is, I have to keep it away from my cat because it could be very poisonous. So I was like, but look at the hybrid roses. Aren't they beautiful? Yeah, I'm very fortunate in my life, you guys, to have my friends. And now I have my YouTube family. My friends are everything. Both my parents are gone. It's just, I'm like an orphan now. So, but I have my good friends and I just love those. I love the flowers. Oh, you had Lindor chocolate. Yeah, chocolate truffles. Oh, those are so good. Yeah, I like Lindor. And of course, my favorite is Giardelli. I hope I'm pronouncing that right because I lived in the Bay Area as a infant, well, as a baby and a toddler. I lived in the Bay Area, and there's a Giardelli chocolate, and they've got the sea salt one with the caramel. Oh, that's my favorite. But Lindor, that's bomb too because they have the little chocolate bunnies at Easter time. And now that today is Valentine's, I guarantee you, if I don't know about the rest of you where you guys live, but if you go into the local stores, especially the drug stores here, there's a chain named CVS. It's from my birth state. Like if you go into CVS, probably before tomorrow, I would guarantee before midnight tonight that the Valentine's Day stuff will either be pulled or will have been moved, and they will have the chocolate Easter bunnies out. How many of you will say that that'll happen in your town? I guarantee you, if I drive to CVS tonight, I'd be able to buy Easter candy. I don't even know when Easter is this year. I haven't looked it up. Sometimes it's right before my birthday, on my birthday, or after my birthday. Is Easter early or late this year? Does anybody know? You have CVS in Louisiana. Oh, I didn't know that. Hi, Flyer Bill. Let's see. Oh, I had you mixed up for a moment with Boston Bill. There's two Bills that come in here all the time now. And I've got two Kellys that come in here. And they're both Kellyanne, so it's crazy. uh, you don't think you'll be able to purchase them. Purchase what? The Easter bunnies? Well, if you're in Iran, probably not. But yeah, this is just a really tiny bouquet, but I love it so much. I walked into my kitchen last night and I could smell these hybrid roses. Oh, and then a lot of the flowers, the carnations that are in the back, they haven't even opened yet. I put the flower food in there, so hopefully these are going to open. But I'm absolutely thrilled about this. And as soon as I can get my kidney x-ray on Monday and then know the results, I'm still, looking forward to the day that I can have another diet root beer because I've just been drinking water and juice to try to flush out any stone fragments from this operation, but I haven't seen any yet. So it's a little sketch what's going to happen after that x-ray, what's going to happen to me. But hey, my doctor's out of town for 2 weeks, so I don't think I need to worry that I'm going to have to go into a procedure in the next 2 weeks unless something gets stuck. I'll have to go to like an emergency room. And I don't want to be there. Uh, what is my zodiac sign? I'm an Aries. I'm born in April. Oh, Lisa, I didn't even see that. When is your birthday? It's so funny. When she asked me my zodiac, I didn't even see the message. When is your birthday? It is in April. And instead of celebrating this year on a specific day, because I'm so lucky to be alive with everything that I've been through the last several years, I just want to celebrate the whole month. So we're going to celebrate my birthday the entire month of April, not just on the actual day. Oh, your mom was an Aries. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are Aries. Well, two that were very, very close to me, but they have both passed away. I have a friend who's a famous actor too, who's an Aries, but I'm not going to name her. And then my friend that passed, who is a famous Canadian, she was an Aries. I had an ex-boyfriend who's also passed who was an Aries. March 26th. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I can tell you, everybody. It's public knowledge. April 12th. Yeah, I miss my mom too. But my mom had a good life and she lived to be quite old. And she, for most of her life, had no significant health issues. So I would trade shoes with her anytime. But for whatever reason, the man upstairs still wants me here because I sort of lost my purpose the last few years while I've just been treating for cancer. I still have my Batgirl cape, but it's hanging up in my closet. I don't have to, I don't take my Batgirl cape out very often anymore. Now, has anybody heard any breaking news on this since I've come on the air regarding Nancy Guthrie? Your mom lived up to 89. Oh, well, then that bodes well for you. I think my mom was 84. But 3 out of my 4 grandparents, they all passed young due to cancer, as did my father. I don't know. I'm better from the cancer, but I'm hammered from the side effects. That's why I've had the heart surgeries and I got the kidney stones. Now, those could have come anyway, but I had no kidney stones until after my cancer treatment. And I didn't have any heart problems either until after my cancer treatment. And then you throw in that COVID jab that I had about 4 or 5 times, like who knows? You come here for breaking news. Flyer Bill. Let me ask you something. Oh, thank you for your support, Nanina. I've been following another story regarding the death of James Vanderbeek, and we're not going to talk about it here on the Nancy Guthrie case, but if I were to make a video about that or go live about that, would anybody be interested? Because there's some crazy stuff that's happened since his passing, and it's become a very controversial topic about what's going on. And if anybody would be interested in that, I can do a video on it, but I didn't know him and I don't know what his family situation is. And, I don't want to say anything negative. We like to wrap our loving arms around everybody here. Lisa says, my husband passed away from cancer almost 9 years ago in April. Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. You would like to hear about the James Vanderbeek story. Yeah, I'm real sorry, Lisa. Yeah, I don't have a husband, but I have experienced a lot of loss the last few years. A former boyfriend who I was still very close with, one of my besties who was Canadian and famous, and not like movie star famous, but famous in television and radio. She also had her own show here on the Weather Channel. She passed. There's just been a lot of loss lately. Do I like traveling? I traveled a lot of places as a child. We moved a lot because of my dad's career. And I did get to go. I was briefly in Canada, just not for more than a day. And I spent some time in Europe as a child. Iran. I never thought about that. I have a neighbor who's Persian and her mom's from there and she likes to go visit. I'm going to get ready and make dinner and have a nice evening, everyone. Okay, I hope you're cooking something good. I'm having I think a Trader Joe's frozen quesadilla that I picked up yesterday when me and my friend went to check out the new market. Yeah, that's gonna, I need to buy some groceries this weekend. And it's too funny because I've been to the Gelson's twice, the Trader Joe's once, and I was in the Vons today to get the rabbit salad and ended up with this. I got a few things that came in from Amazon, more liquid, because I got to get the liquids in me constantly with this surgery, but I actually need to do some shopping. But groceries are like, my God, I can't even imagine. Like, I don't know how all of us are going to keep surviving with groceries the way they are. I hate grocery shopping, and I get mostly deliveries now because of my disability. If I go in, I've got my cane and I've got a cart, even if I'm not picking up, a lot of things, just so I can lean on the cart. And I can't stand in like a long line, and I have to park up front, and a lot of the spaces are full, and so it's always an ordeal now. Michael Danger, we aren't going to. We aren't going to what, Michael? Welcome in, Michael. We're going to have a depression, you think? Yeah, there's a rumor going around that rents are plummeting in Los Angeles. Well, that's not happening here. I'm in a rent control building. That would actually be advantageous. You had to step out for a minute. No problem. Yeah, I was just asking the audience here if they would be interested in the future if I talked about the James Vanderbeek situation. and I don't mean about the cancer, but what's happened subsequent to his death. That's become a controversial topic. Do we know if the family paid the ransom? I don't think they have, because apparently Harvey at TMZ has the bit count of coin information, and there's been no activity in that account. Patricia Jackson, today is my mom's 93rd heavenly birthday. Oh, wow. And this morning my phone rang, and my ex-husband passed this morning. I was very surprised at my reaction. I cried my eyes out. We were together 20 years. Oh my gosh. Who rang your phone, if you don't mind me asking? Because those things do happen. When my Canadian friend passed, and I didn't expect this at all because we hadn't known each other very long, less than 3 years, this whole place blew up like I wasn't living here by myself anymore. And it didn't just happen for a few days or a few weeks. It was like a year, maybe longer. Oh, your daughter called? Oh, she called to tell you that your ex-husband passed away. I thought you were saying like, oh, today's her heavenly birthday, and then your phone rang, and it was one of those, weird calls that you can't trace and there's nobody there. Well, I'm sorry, life is short. That's why for my birthday month, April, let's just celebrate the whole month, everybody. And no, nobody needs to send me anything, but if anybody wants to send me a letter, feel free. I've got my business address in all my videos. Now, with the lives, somehow YouTube uploads a message that says, click here to join the channel membership. Well, that's impossible because I'm not monetized, so I don't have a channel membership. So I just found that out, that on all my lives, that message was popping up. So after this is done and it starts to upload, I'll have to then go to my main desktop computer and take that link that doesn't work down, and then I'll put like a brief description with the tags, the hashtags. But it's also, you can go to my main channel page and you'll see all my links. You'll see my email address, and you'll see my my business box in Studio City. Hi, Gonzalez Twins Live. How are you? Happy Valentine's Day. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, you might have to see this on the playback now because we're almost done here. I'm an hour into this. I just wanted to talk about the SWAT operation that happened last night on Camino de Michael in Tucson, and I wanted to give out some updated ransom note information that's on the third ransom note that was sent to TMZ, where they're asking for the fractional Bitcoin, and now they've kind of changed their demands, and apparently there's something in that wasn't disclosed yesterday that's now being disclosed, where whoever wrote that email says, prepare to go international. Take that as you wish. Back to Grace. I am literally shocked, angry that they haven't found her. You mean Guthrie? Back to Guthrie? I so many times when I want to say her name, Nancy Guthrie, I almost say Nancy Grace because it's NG. I think of Nancy Grace. I almost say it, and then I go, oops, Nancy Guthrie. And when I'm typing like the titles and the videos, I almost want to type Nancy Grace. And, I know Nancy. I'm not like her best friend or anything, but I've met her before. And I'm like, oh, no, this is not Nancy Grace. This is Nancy Guthrie. Make sure you don't make that mistake. So maybe when you sit back to Grace, is that who you're talking about? Yeah, you're bad. Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? Oh, that's so funny. I've almost done the same thing so many times. Hey, Dr. Kings, Gold, New York. Nice to meet you, Dr. Kings, Gold, New York. Are you actually in New York? Hussafel. It is really weird that these kidnappers, this kidnapper or kidnappers have gotten away with this crime so far. Unbelievable. Absolutely. Whoever's really, whether it's a kidnapping, an abduction, a murder, a robbery gone wrong, a burglary gone wrong, whether it's one person, whether it's a group of people, even if it's a Mexican cartel, which I kind of doubt because this is not a professional kidnapping. There's too many mistakes. Oh, I've met you before. You're in the gold community. Okay. I wondered about that. Yeah, I'm in the gold community too. And for those of you watching now that are not in the gold community, that means we're a group of people that do mailbox mining and gold prospecting. Take the doctor off your name. King's Gold, New York. Is it DR or doctor? King's Gold, New York. My screen says DR period. I don't know what you're talking about, succulent Chinese meal. What are you talking about? Did I miss something earlier in the chat? I don't think so. Don't have that many people in today. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already done so. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon, and then you'll be notified anytime I go live or anytime I post a video. Why don't the kidnappers, for ethical reasons, let Nancy be found? Well, you know, criminals are not ethical people. And now that they've released everybody that they have detained, including Carlos Palazuelos and the 3 individuals from last night in Shadow Hills near Nancy's house of Catalina Hills, I don't know what to think now. Because we've got Annie's car towed by the FBI. We've got Nancy's car towed by the FBI. We got the van pulled over last night that's connected to the Verbo in Shadow Hills. Then we have the dark gray Range Rover that's now in FBI custody that was towed on a flatbed last night that had the yellow tarp around the back. But there didn't seem to be like suspicion of a body. I don't know. Joseph, yes, I live in New York. What's the weather like in New York today? Oh, it's Dr. DR is short. I just added it to my name the other night. Oh, okay. Yeah, you look like somebody new. I didn't recognize that name. Well, I've already gone over an hour. If you've come in later, make sure you watch this on the playback. And the 2 main topics of this video is the SWAT operation that happened last night and the additional information that was revealed on the 3rd email to TMZ, where the writer of the email said, be prepared to go international. You know, Tucson is 71 miles from the port of entry at Nogales, Mexico. You know, take that as you wish. Same channel, same avatar. It was warm compared to lately. Oh, that's good. Are you in New York City or are you upstate? Oh, you're welcome, Flyer Bill. And everybody, if you weren't here earlier, I'm wishing everybody here. Oh, upstate. Great. That's cold, upstate New York. I've been there many times. I'm wishing everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And if anything breaks, there's any breaking news on this, I'll be happy to go back on the air and update everybody. I can't believe that as of, tonight, like tonight is the night that this happened 2 weeks ago. This is day number 14. Let's pray for Nancy. Let's pray for her family. Let's pray that she is returned. Thank you for coming, everybody. Love you all. Have a good night.